今天很高兴能在3D列印展与各位见面。那没办法来到现场的朋友也没关系，我们连3天的直播活动都会带来非常精彩的内容。对3D列印有兴趣的您，千万不要错过喽！台湾天马从2016年开始代理 Formlabs 从创立至今，不断的在追求技术上的进步，从中上型光固化技术往精度更高、列印更稳定以及成型空间更大来做发展。今年 Formlabs 也推出了重磅产品雷射烧解技术的3D列印机 Fuse。那今天呢，我们非常荣幸的邀请到 Formlabs 亚太区的客服部经理 Zoltan Hegedus 来到现场，要跟我们介绍今年展览的亮点机型。让我们一起欢迎 Zoltan。
Thank you for the introduction and thank you for having me today. Before my presentation, I'd like to give you a quick introduction. So I'm Zoltan and I work for Formlabs as Service Program Manager and Services Team Lead. I'm based out of Taiwan, out of Taichung, and I oversee the services operations across the APAC region. Let's begin our presentation by saying a few words about Formlabs.
那 Zoltan 呢是我们 Formlabs 亚太区客服部的经理。那我们今天就从介绍 Formlabs 来开始我们今天的演讲。
So Formlabs began as a startup about 10 years ago, but has grown into a global company offering full SLA and SLS ecosystems. We have sold over 80,000 printers and our end users have printed more than 100 million parts.
那 Formlabs 创立至今呢，已经到了第10年，从草创发展到现在，已经是一个全球的企业。然后提供了 SLA 跟 SLS 系统的3D列印机。那现在呢，我们已经售出了超过8万台的列印机，以及为我们的使用者成功列印超过1亿个物件。
We are actually present in a great number of industries, and our printers are used for a huge variety of applications. Our main 3 verticals are engineering, healthcare, education, and art, where applications vary from rapid prototyping all the way to actual end-user parts.
那 Formlabs 呢，它涉及了非常多的产业，我们的列印机也有很多元的应用。我们主要的3个领域呢是工程、医疗保健、教育和艺术。那这些应用呢，从快速的原型制造到作为末端使用都可以看见。
So we actually provide a growing library of SLA materials to print on to satisfy the needs of as many applications as possible. And we introduce new resins all the time, such as the recently introduced dental model V3 resin and our brand new ESD resin that we actually just announced this month.
那我们持续的在研发 SLA 技术的树脂材料种类，来满足各种应用的需求。那我们常常都在推出新的树脂，像是这个月呢，我们就推出了 dental model V3 以及 ESD 树脂。
So Formlabs' mission, our mission is to expand access to digital fabrication so anyone can make anything.
Formlabs 的任务就是要扩展数位制造的入口，让任何人都可以列印出任何东西。
Now let's dive into some of our recently announced products. You must have already heard of our large format printer, SLA printer, the Form 3L, that has a build volume 5 times bigger than the Form 3.
那让我们进入到近期新释出的产品，您一定听过风 3L 我们的大型光固化3D 列印机，它拥有比风3大5倍的成型空间。
Do you actually know that now we are also offering the whole ecosystem for our large format printer as well, with the Wash L and the Pure L solution? In case you don't know about post-processing for SLA prints, so all printed parts first require a wash in isopropyl alcohol, or TPM, to remove all traces of uncured resin. Then for a printed part to achieve its desired final properties, we also need to expose it to heat and UV light.
那您知道我们现在提供整个大型光固化技术的解决方案吗？包括自动清洗跟2次固化的流程。如果您不了解光固化的列印流程，光固化技术列印出的物件呢，需要透过异丙醇或者是 TEAMA 来进行清洗，洗掉物件表面残留的树脂，接着再透过加热与照射 UV 光，使材料发挥它的最佳性能。
So let's take a look at the whole post process of printed parts from the Form 3L. From the moment we take out the finished printed model from the Form 3L. So obviously you pull out the build platform.
那接下来让我们一步步来看这个工作流程。首先呢，先将我们的这个成型平台从风扇槽里面取出。
And then you insert it into our large format Form Wash L.
接着再将成型平台放入 Wash L 里面，关起上盖进行清洗。
So some of our key features for the Wash L are the following. So you may insert one Form 3L build platform, or with the included adapter, you can also insert two Form 3 build platforms side by side. You may use either IPA or TPM in these machines that actually get agitated by magnetically driven impellers that are located at the bottom. So these are the ones that actually rotate and move the liquid around the models inside. And we actually include a pump, like a motorized pump, that you can use to remove the solvent when it gets too saturated.
画勺它的特色在于呢，您可以一次放入风三窑的平台，或者是两个风三的平台。它是使用 IPA 或者是 TPM 来用磁力回旋的方式清洗。画勺它还内附了一个电池式的容器帮浦，让我们可以更轻松的来换这个清洗剂。
The machine has a color display just like the Form 3L, and there's actually a lot of helpful information you will find here, such as the saturation level of the solvent that are using. Also, you will see the number of washes the Wash L has completed, and some guidelines on how to wash prints, and also presets for each type of resin. We also provide future firmware updates for this machine, and all the new resins that we announce later on will be then updated via firmware.
画勺呢，它如同我们前面的挂石一样，它都有一个彩色的操作界面。这个界面呢，它会显示测量的清洗剂饱和度，以及清洗的次数，还有清洗的参数。那我们之后呢，这些设备也可以都可以进行韧体的更新。
So once the wash is complete, you have to wait for the model to dry, of course, and then you can take it out of the wash and take the model off of the build platform, and then put it in the Cure L.
当您的清洗完成且物件已经晾干后呢，接着将物件从成型平台取下，再放进 Cure L 里面进行2次的固化。
I already kind of mentioned, why we need the Cure L, but just to say a few more words and give you a couple more examples. Let's look at our high temp resin. So high temp resin, before curing, only has a heat deflection of about 49 degrees Celsius. But after curing, post-curing, it can actually achieve 120 degrees. And with some additional thermal curing, you can go up to 238 degrees Celsius.
那接下来给您看几个例子来看2次固化的必要性。在2次固化之前呢，我们的耐高温树脂它的热变形温度约是49度，但经过2次固化后可达120度。那额外的，如果再进行这个第3次的固化后，温度可达到238度。
Let's look at another example. So our flexible ATA resin has a tear strength of 11 kilonewton meter pre-cured in its green state, but post-cured you can actually achieve more than double this.
那在弹性的80A 材料的这个拉伸强度呢，也是在2次固化后可以大大的增加，从前面的11千牛顿米达到了将近2倍的24千牛顿米。
For some resins, it's an actual must to have a form cure or to cure the parts, the printed models, and such are biocompatible resins. So here it's actually mandatory to cure your printed parts.
那对于有需要生物相容性的材料来说呢，2次固化就是一个非常必要的流程。
So let's have a look at the key features of the Cure L. We have a glass turntable inside for an even all-around cure of your models. And we have LED lights inside that are replaceable, giving better longevity to the machine, so a longer service life. And we have a couple of very powerful heaters inside that can actually heat up to 80 degrees Celsius in less than 10 minutes.
那接着呢，看到这个 3L 的特色，它的里头的玻璃转盘呢，它可以使我们的物件全方位的均匀受热。机器里面的这个 LED 灯呢，也是可以进行更换的，所以我们的机器使用的寿命呢，就可以更为长久。那机器内部呢，它有2个高强度的加热器，它可以让我们的 3L 在10分钟内加热到80度。
So just like the Wash L, the 3L also has a color display. It has presets for all of our materials. It has preheat cycles that we didn't have in the smaller version of the Pure, and you can also create custom profiles. And it's the firmware, just like the Wash L, is also updatable.
那 Wash 跟 3L 呢，它们的操作面板里面呢，都有原厂建议的这个不同材料它所对应的参数，以及预热设定跟克制调整。那这些都是过去 Wash 跟 3L 里面没有的。
Okay, so on this next slide, you can actually see the 3L do its magic. It's actually nice just to watch, how it's curing the models inside.
那可以从这个投影片里面呢，看到这个就是 3L 它在工作的一个流程。
Okay, so now with the whole Form 3L ecosystem available and complete, you can bring your ideas to life, no matter how small or big they are. The Form 3L ecosystem is the ideal 3D printing solution for cost-effective, in-house, large-scale production.
那现在呢，在这整个风3L的大型光固化技术解决方案之下，无论您的创意或大或小，都能够将它具象化。风3L大型光固化解决方案呢，将会是您列印大型物件里最佳的选择。
So we just talked about the SLA ecosystem. Now let's change the subject a little bit and jump into the SLS printing world. And we are introducing the Fuse one.
那刚刚介绍完光固化的技术以后呢，接下来就让我们进入到雷射烧结技术的世界 Fuse One。
Okay, so let's look at the current offering of Formlabs. So of course, on the left you can see our current SLA offering. So we have the Form 3, the 3B, and the large format 3L, alongside the Cure, the Wash, and the Cure and Wash L. And on the right you can see our current offering for SLS printing. So we actually introduced the Fuse one back in 2017, if I'm not wrong. And we actually released it to the public last year. And it simply just wasn't ready yet, and we wanted to bring the perfect SLS products to you guys.
那可以先看一下，在介绍 Fuse One 之前呢，这个是 Formlabs 它近期的一个产品线。那在左边这边呢，它是光固化技术，可以看到有风3、风3B，然后到大型的风3L，以及它的后处理设备 Wash Cure。那右边这个呢，就是我们的雷射烧结技术的列印机 Fuse One。那它过去呢，在2017年的时候就曾经被预告出来，那一直到现在呢，就是它的技术已经发展的比较成熟了。
So what is actually SLS? So SLS stands for Selective Laser Sintering. It's just like SLA, I suppose, in a way that you're also using laser, but instead of using resin, we use nylon powder, and the powder gets sintered, it gets melted, fused together, and thus creating layers of prints, and then it creates a model. And so this, the actual resulting parts printed with SLS printers, printed on the Fuse, are UV stable, they are mechanically strong, and also capable of further processing, such as coating, plating, or fastening hardware, etc.
那什么是 SLS 这个雷射烧结技术呢？它其实就是选择性雷射烧结技术。那它的原理呢是透过这个你用粉末进行加热，让这个粉末融化以后，再透过雷射光去照射来烧结成型。那这样的方法列印出来的物件呢，具有抗 UV、高机械性能，以及能够进行后处理加工，像是涂层啊、电镀啊，或是坚固物件等等。
So the most special part about SLS printed parts is that they are comparable to end-use products that were created by conventional methods, like for example injection molding.
那尼龙粉末它列印出 个物件最特别的地方就在于它们的性能跟效果呢是媲美于我们过去传统的塑胶射出的这种末端使用的成品。
So another benefit of SLS printing is that when you upload files from your computer onto the printer, you don't need to worry about complicated geometries. In fact, you don't even have to worry about orientation or supports because you can just drop everything into the build area and it's all supported by the powder that surrounds the printed models.
那第二个优点呢，就是这个尼龙粉末所印出来的东西呢，它不需要生长支撑材，所以在设计上面呢会更为的自由。那它这个粉末呢，在列印时就可以作为物件的支撑。
So SLS printing is really the fastest way to print your prototypes or end-use parts. You can pack your whole build volume as striking as you want. And the only thing you have to worry about is to leave 5 millimeters between your models, and that's all. Our slicer software, which is called Preform, you may know it, can actually load up, for example, one small model and create an array of hundreds in just 1 second, and then of course print it.
那这个第三个优点呢，就在于它印出来的东西呢，它的成型空间呢是非常的高效率的，并且呢，只要在每一个物件之间呢留差不多5毫米的空间，就可以列印出非常多的物件。
So SLS powder is relatively cheap, and there is almost no waste of material because you can recycle powder almost indefinitely. So you basically just recover, reuse the powder, and print again.
那尼龙粉末另外一个优点也在于它的成本并不高，而且它的高回收率跟低耗损，可以透过使用过的这个粉末进行回收，再混合新的粉末重新的进行使用。
Okay, so let's have a look at the actual ecosystem. So at the core of this whole ecosystem is the Fuse One. So the Fuse One is a compact solution to bring industrial style SLS printing into your workshop or even office.
Fuse One 它这是一个非常简洁的一个方案，就是可以将这样的一个工业级的3D 列印机呢带入您的工作空间，或甚至是到办公室。
So the Fuse One obviously provides the usual seamless printing experience from start to finish. Only Formlabs printers can deliver that you're already used to on SLA printing. And with industry-leading support, of course. There's no need to learn another system. The Fuse One uses the same dashboard and the same preform you already know really well. Our material 9on12 has a great tensile and compression strength, and it's rigid and yet flexible. As for the build volume, as I already mentioned, you may pick a handful of different parts, or even 300 small parts in less than a couple of minutes using SLS-specific tools in Preform. So if you want to just give it a go, you can actually download Preform from our website, and you can use the virtual Fuse with any of your STL or OBJ models. And of course in the Fuse we have a built-in camera. So this built-in camera checks and makes sure that all the printed models are printed correctly, and if it doesn't print models correctly, or the printed models and the camera vision detected models are different, then it will stop the print.
那 Fuse One 呢，它有几项的特色。首先呢，是 Fuse One 它可以提供一个非常完整而且简便的一个列印体验。那您在操作的时候呢，不需要再学习新的系统，就可以透过列印机的操作界面跟这个非常容易上手的 Formlabs 它的切片软体 Preform 来进行操作。那它的粉末呢是这个尼龙12粉末，它的材料拥有很良好的拉伸强度跟压缩强度，它是一个既坚固而且又有韧性的一种材料。那在构件料方面，您也可以使用这个 Preform 里面有一个 SLS 的特定功能，将少量不同的零件或者是低于300格的物件呢，在不到5分钟内自动的为您排列完毕。那您现在呢，也可以透过线上的一个虚拟的 Fuse One 跟最新版本的 Preform 来尝试以上的这些功能。另 另外呢，这个 Fuse 呢，它的内件还有一个摄像头跟这个传感器，它会监控我们每一层列印的列印情况，并于发现干扰的时候呢，会自动来通知我们，例如发现粉末量低啊，或者是列印的区域有碎屑等。
Alright, so here are the tech specs for the printer, the Fuse. And so the XY resolution 200 microns, the layer thickness is 110 microns. We're using a 10-watt laser, and you can fit up to 8.5 kilograms of nylon powder into the hopper. And the refresh rates that you have to be using vary from 30 to 50%.
那这个投影片呢，就显示出 Fuse 它一些主要的规格跟技术。
So let's have a look at what materials we currently have or we currently offer on the Fuse 1. Please note that, of course, we plan on widening our range of materials next year with some exciting products.
那接下来呢，我们就来看一下我们这个 Fuse 它使用的一些材料。那先跟大家预告，我们明年呢都会再释出更多新的材料，像是尼龙11等等。
So the first material that we introduced was 912.
那我们首先要介绍的第一个材料呢是尼龙12粉末。
So parts printed with this material are suitable for both prototyping and end-use manufacturing. They are perfect for jigs, fixtures, tooling, and even biocompatible models.
那用尼龙12粉末所列印出来的物件呢，是非常适合用在原型制造跟末端使用的一个制造。那它适合制造像是夹具啊、固定装置、工具，或者是需要生物相容性的一些模型。
The second material that we're offering is 911. It's also an exciting material.
那第二个介绍的呢，就是我们的尼龙11粉末，这也是非常值得期待的一款材料。
So if your production requires higher ductility, impact resistance, and the durability to withstand tear, then 911 is the material for you.
如果您的物件呢需要高延展性跟耐冲击，那尼龙11就会是您最佳的选择。
So yes, obviously, if your application requires impact resistance, again, 911 is a great material, and it's great for enclosures, snaps, clips, hinges, and last but not least, orthotics and prosthetics.
所以，如果您的应用啊需要耐冲击的话，就很适合使用这个尼龙11粉末。那它也非常适合用来列印外壳、暗扣或是铰链，甚至是矫正器啊，或是义肢。
Okay, so let's have a quick look at the tear strength comparison between our two materials. So the first one is 912 and the second one is 911. So you can see the tear strength of the 911 is much stronger, much bigger, much larger than the 912. Just two different materials with two different properties.
那让我们快速的来看一下这两款 SLS 技术材料的这个极限拉伸的比较。左边这个呢是尼龙12粉末的，那右边这个是尼龙11的。那可以看到右边的这个尼龙11，它的拉伸的技术呢就是比较强。但是呢，这是两种，就是看您需要的需求来决定想要运用的材料。
So we already talked about the printer, we talked about materials, and of course now it's time to introduce the third part of the ecosystem, which is the post-processing station, the Fuse sift.
那一个完整的列印方案呢，绝对不能少这个后处理的步骤，所以接下来就让我们来介绍这个 Fuse 的后处理设备——粉末回收系统 Fuse Sift。
So the sift is the perfect partner to the Fuse 1 printer. It's a multifunctional powder extraction, recovery, storage, and mixing tool all in one.
那 Fuse Sift 是 Fuse 1非常好的一个伙伴，它是一个多功能的粉末回收系统，它拥有这个提取物件、回收粉末、储存粉末跟混合粉末这4大功能。
So the actual post-processing workflow is really a breeze from printing to extracting, all with the sift. The sift is ESD protected. We have a negative airflow inside with a HEPA filter to make working with powder very, very safe. Actually, the powder doesn't get out of the machine. It all gets sucked into the HEPA filter. And we provide multiple tools for scrubbing, brushing, and cleaning. And once the SIP is filled with used and fresh powder, the dispensing and the mixing is fully automated. Just select fresh and sifted ratios inside the SIP, then place the cartridge in there, and it gets filled.
那 Fuse 呢，它可以协助您从提取物件开始的这整个后处理的流程都非常的顺畅。Fuse 它搭配了一个叫做负压式设计，所以呢，你物件在提取的过程中，它有一个 HEPA 的这个过滤器，它就会帮你吸收过滤这些粉末，让您拥有一个非常安全且整洁的工作环境。那 Fuse 内部呢，也有提供很专业的一个工具组来进行清洁、刷除粉末。而当 Fuse 里面含有旧粉跟新粉的时候呢，刷新比例跟这个混合粉末都是全自动的。我们只要在操作的界面上设定刷新比例，并且将这个粉盒放上混合器，它就可以自动的帮我们混合粉末。
Some of the tech specs of the Fuse. So we have a negative pressure venting system, which actually keeps the powder inside so that you can work and the powder doesn't, cover all your surroundings and stay inside. Also, we have physical buttons so that you can actually turn on the vacuum, for example, or the light easily without having to touch the touchscreen. And we have the touchscreen as well, of course. It can store up to 10.7 kilograms of fresh powder and 9.8 kilograms of sifted, like used powder. And of course, we have a very large HEPA filter that should catch all the powder.
那可以看一下，这个是 Fuse 它的一些主要规格跟技术。那它有实体的按键，也可以透过荧幕来做操作。还有它的这个 HEPA 的过滤器。
So the Fuse One and the Fuse 6, along with our materials, are a great and affordable ecosystem to bring the SLS printing experience to the masses.
那 Fuse One 跟 Fuse 6呢，还有我们的材料都是非常棒而且经济实惠的一个3D 列印的系统，让我们将这个 SLS 列印体验呢带给更多人。好的，那我们今天呢非常感谢Zoltan来到我们的直播现场，跟大家分享 Formlabs 今年推出的亮点跟技术。那这2天Zoltan 也都会在我们的摊位上，所以如果大家有问题想要来问Zoltan 的话呢，都可以到我们的摊位，也就是在南港展览馆的这个3D 列印展2馆4楼 S218台湾天马科技来找我们的 Zoltan， 还有我们也会提供最专业的3D 列印设备跟最贴心的服务。那来参观摊位呢，就有机会获得精美的礼品，现场也有展期的独家优惠，欢迎各位前来哦。明天的早上11点，我们还会有第2场的直播活动，会由国际创新声音技术研究院的营运长郑文龙来分享 Formlabs 在医疗方面的应用。那有兴趣的朋友千万不要错过。那